Glad you're with us tonight. This is a program that you need to record. You will need to share this with all your people. I'm telling you, you're going to want to make notes because this is a show I've been wanting to do with Dr. Peter McCullough. Welcome, Dr. McCullough. It's just you and me tonight for the whole program, and I want to ask questions and you respond, and so we can get people what they need to know. First off, how are you, sir? Did you have a great holiday?
I did, and had a great time at your event recently in Dallas-Fort Worth. Great to be out with the Flashpoint Army.
Yeah, yeah, they loved you. They sure did. They loved seeing you. All right, let me show. We're going to talk about vaccines. I know you guys find that hard to believe at home. We're actually going to talk about that. Let me show you the vaccine hesitation hearsay with John Leake. Watch.
Thank you, John, for doing this. All through the COVID experience, tragedy, I had this kind of recurring question in my mind, which is, no one's ever answered. And I think that you have gotten to the answer or close to the answer. And the question is this: why were public health authorities in the United States and acting in concert with the media so intent on discouraging Americans from treating COVID? There was this persistent and very aggressive and at times really vicious campaign to get people to stop thinking about how to treat this illness, which we were told was going to wipe out a huge percentage of humanity, and just to accept the vax. But no treatment at all, because that's fish tank cleaner, it's horse tranquilizer. What was that?
Well, the short answer is that it was to stamp out the heresy of what is called vaccine hesitation. So vaccine hesitation, there's a huge literature on it. It's a psychological analysis of all of the factors that would cause anyone, a man, a woman, a young person, to hesitate to get the vaccine. And I want to emphasize this. You Google vaccine hesitancy, you're going to get 1 million search results. So what is vaccine hesitancy? And I think it's best understood not so much in scientific terms, not in empirical scientific terms. It's a form of heresy. And this was the thing that my co-author, Dr. Peter McCullough, and we had conversations about this for the last 5 years. Why is it heresy? And conversely, why is the vaccine a kind of, in the minds of so many people, something like a savior?
Well, that's a good question. Great setup, Dr. McCullough. You want to answer that?
Well, that's my co-author on my recent book, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality, John Leake. You know, he's in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's a best-selling author. He's considered the world's greatest historian. And if anybody has not seen the Tucker Carlson-John Leake interview, Gene, they need to see it. He is a master. And he points out that vaccine hesitancy is in the medical literature. It's considered like a mental disease, that if you're hesitant in taking a vaccine, that something's wrong with you.
Yeah, I guess I qualify. I think a lot of Americans are hesitant to take a vaccine, especially since COVID.
For sure. You know, I never had a problem with vaccines. I took them all, and my kids got all the vaccines. But you're right, the COVID vaccines had so many side effects and complications, it made us rethink everything.
Yeah, let me hear something you posted. Breaking: former CDC director calls for market removal of the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. I'd like to see it eliminated, Dr. Robert Redfield said to the Epoch Times. I mean, this is, it's almost, this is what we were wanting so many years ago, for somebody with some common sense to come out and say, hey, you know what? We're just going to take this vaccine off the shelf. There's too many problems in the VAERS database and all these things that are happening. But it's almost like it had to play out. All the money had to be made. That's my opinion. All the money had to be made off of it for them to come back and go, okay, now we'll admit it didn't really work. In fact, it was worse.
You know, Redfield was in charge of the CDC when the vaccines received their emergency use authorization, and he declared December 2020 that the vaccines were, quote, extremely safe. He said that in December of 2020. So one of the points I want to make is that how did he know they were safe? They were brand new. Nobody took them yet. So you can't say something's safe before people start to take it. Redfield previously accepted the vaccines as an article of faith, like religious faith. And now after 5 years, he's woken up, he's seen all these people with side effects, but at least he's honest. It took 5 years, but at least he's honest. He's saying they should come off the market. But, we still have Rochelle Lewinsky, and we have Stephen Hahn and Robert Califf, and now Marty Macri and Robert F. Kennedy, and the current acting CDC director, Jim O'Neill. None of them have publicly called for the COVID shots to come off the market. Nobody in power has called for the COVID vaccines to be removed from the market.
So why, I'm going to put you on the spot, why would they not do that? I mean, all the evidence points to they don't need to be on the market.
People are greatly concerned, Gene, like I outlined in my first book, that there's what's called a biopharmaceutical complex, like a deep state that's very powerful. And when they tell governments, keep our products on the market, they stay on the market.
I think you're right. You posted this back in December 9th. You said the FDA, HHS, and White House hid myocarditis risk, including fatal cases, from the public. We talked about that on the show with you. Conclusions from U.S. Senate hearing in May 21st, 25. Finally, an ethical FDA staffer leaked an internal memo of 96 childhood deaths after COVID-19 vaccination. Still no recall or black box warning, just podcasting and press interviews from FDA Commissioner Macri. No actions taken to protect citizens. I mean, this was horrific that all of these children suffer and die.
I tell you, this was a stunning development. Over Thanksgiving holiday, somebody at the FDA, some type of staff member, leaked to the Washington Post and some other media outlets a memo, an internal memo that says we have 96 deaths of children after the vaccine, 10 of which they're sure the vaccine was the cause of death. They had an internal memo, and they didn't tell anybody. And one of the very first ones in the 10 was actually Ernesto Ramirez, his young boy here in South Texas, who took the vaccines. He had a cardiac arrest while playing basketball, a little 16-year-old boy. They had me review the autopsy, Gene. Clearly, it was the vaccine that killed him. I made that call in 2021. Now the FDA agrees in 2025, and they're out there using a technique called minimal disclosure, meaning they're going to give us just a little bit, okay, 10 deaths, but really where there's a trickle, there's a flood. Even in the CDC reporting system, there's 200 childhood deaths after vaccine. The FDA says they have 100 or so, 96 specifically, and that's underreported by about 30-fold. So we're really looking at about 600 children lost their lives after COVID-19 vaccine, when the number of children who lost their lives due to COVID was probably about 120.
Wow. It's just staggering, the numbers. Let me ask you this, and it's not on my format here to go over, but we saw video after video of people taking, and reports from doctors, reports from even medical examiners pulling these long, I don't know what they are, look like long worms, out of people, after they had passed the myocarditis. What, again, can you explain to us what that was and how that got there?
Well, when the human body dies, the blood liquefies, and then the morticians drain the blood out. They put in some cannula, or basically large elastic straws, and they just drain the blood out of the body so they can embalm the body. And during the pandemic, the morticians, the undertakers, they started noticing the blood was clotting. And a former U.S. Air Force military officer, Tom Haviland, did a research study. And 70% of morticians are reporting they're seeing these large clots. So they're pulling them out and actually, taking pictures of them, or even putting them in jars of formaldehyde. And what we've learned is the COVID infection plus the vaccine loads the body with what's called the spike protein, the spine on the surface of the virus, and the spike protein directly causes blood clotting. So what I've observed in my practice, Gene, is that all of us through the pandemic were more prone to blood clots. Even if we didn't take the shots, even if we just had the infection, we're more prone to blood clots. It's a very important message for your audience.
So you're telling me, pause right there. Just make sure people at home heard. You're saying if you did not take the vax, you are still more prone to blood clotting. Why? Why if you didn't take it?
Because the virus has this little spine on it, the spike protein. It gets installed in the body, and it promotes blood clotting. And it can stay in the body a year or more after the shots. So I've seen patients have like a minor, ankle sprain and develop a blood clot. I've seen so many people get blood clots they didn't take the shots. It's just due to COVID. The point I'm making, Gene, is both SARS-CoV-2 infection and the vaccine promote blood clotting. So all of us, if anything, should try to err on the side of blood thinning instead of blood clotting.
Okay, so you got people at home now going, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't get the vax, and now I'm prone. What do I need? Is there something the people that are watching need to do, especially if they're elderly and they're going, I don't, I'm at a certain age. Do I need to do something more to protect myself? Even though I didn't get the vaccine, I feel fine. Should I do something?
Well, that's me, Gene. I didn't take the vaccine. Now, I've got some medical problems like high blood pressure and probably some common problems that elderly people have. But one of the things we came up with the wellness companies is a medicinal combination of nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin. And so this is, let me try to raise it up so we can see it on the screen. There we go. So this is the ultimate Spike Detox. And this is what people need to look at from the wellness company. It's the combination of nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin. And go to the wellness company. Gene, you've got a promo code. Yeah, there it is. twc.health/flash. Look for the Ultimate Spike Detox in the gold label. Most people need this, Gene. Most people need them. Follow the instructions on the bottle. I'd say for at least a year. That's what our research suggests, that people need this to clear this spike protein out.
All right, so that combination that you've got there, what is that going to do? First off, what does that do to the blood clotting issue? Does it thin the blood? Because
Yes.
So
it's a mild blood thinner. It's not a prescription, but it's a mild blood thinner, so it thins the blood, and it digests the spike protein.
Oh.
It literally melts the spike protein away out of the blood and out of the tissue so your body can get rid of it.
So what if you're on a blood thinner? Should you not take that?
No, you can take it. Just make sure you ask your doctor. I have patients on blood thinners every day. I'm in practice in Dallas, Gene, so I see patients every day. And people can be on blood thinners. Just follow the instructions on the bottle. And if there's excess bleeding, it's simply too much. Each person's different. But if there's easy bruising or if there's nosebleeds or bleeding while brushing the teeth, we know the blood is too thin.
Right. Okay. Well, I have not heard of anybody saying if you did not get the vaccine, you still need to do something. So this is really breaking news for most of us.
But Gene, let me say that there's a blood test that can help sort this out. So a lot of people didn't take the shots. They say, come on, Dr. McCullough, it's been 2 or 3 years. So there's a blood test. You can actually measure a spike antibody blood test, and it's available at LabCorp. And you can actually order it yourself. You don't even need a doctor. So if you go on the website, LabCorp, Labs on Demand, click COVID antibody test, and you enter your name and information, you pay $69, and then you're in the computer, go into a LabCorp and get your test done. You'll get the result the next day. It's very, very useful. If the spike antibody is less than 1,000, you're free and clear. You don't need this. You don't need this. If your spike antibody is over 1,000, it's my clinical judgment that people should go on it for about a year.
Okay, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know what to do. Write that down. Go to labcorp.com. And again, what is the test that they say they want?
They go to Labs on Demand, Infectious Diseases, COVID antibody test.
There it is.
COVID antibody test will give this proper spike blood test that, I've published on this in the peer-reviewed literature, Gene. It's the most important test. It sorts out who's got a big dose of this spike protein in them and who doesn't have much, if any, at all.
So if I don't want to get the blood test and I just want to get on that product, is that going to hurt me?
No, it's not gonna hurt. It's also quite favorable for older people in terms of helps fight against artery blockages, atherosclerosis. It's anti-diabetic. It's also anti-cancer. So it's got a lot of favorable properties. The main ingredients are nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin. Minor ingredients include black sativa, as well as dandelion extract.
Wow. I'm still shocked that we're not hearing more about this, but thank you for the information. Doc, let me ask you, what keeps you up at night? What is, we're always talking about COVID and what we went through and all that. But what is it that you see on the horizon that we should know and be concerned about or just be aware about?
Boy, I tell you, well, first let's finish this conversation. I'm greatly worried that people who do not take this,
right,
even years after the shots, end up with a problem. So today, Gene, I had a patient in my office. He flew all the way from Washington State. He took the vax in 2021 and he had a reaction with some headaches and some problems initially. He went 2 or 3 years and then boom, big intracranial hemorrhage. Then he needed neurosurgery. This has ruined his life, Gene. He didn't want to take the shot. He did it for his job. And, there was about a 3 or 4 year delay, and then boom, he had a major problem. And the problem is his body was loaded with this spike protein. I said, listen, you got to get on this right away before there's some type of problem that develops. So,
wow.
If people get on this, it's my experience, if people get on this, we're able to get them out of this jam so they don't end up with a spike protein problem. The spike protein causes both clotting, and then it can burst blood vessels, and when it does, then there's bleeding.
Staggering information. Okay, so Doc, let me now correct me if I say this wrong. So for instance, I never got the vaccine. I felt like
good move.
I think I may have had a mild case of COVID. I never really had I was never really down. My wife, we think she had it really, really early before it was even a thing. We think she had it because she lost her sense of taste for a while and all of that. All that came back and she's great. However, so if I did well, I don't have any health issues. So this spike protein that comes off the virus, the spine of the virus, as you said, am I getting that because it's shedding from other people? It was shedding from other folks. Is that if I was around people? And I don't see. I mean, I flew all the time. When we could fly, I still was out there. So I'm sure I was around a lot of people that were vaccinated. I think we all were. So we really need to take that part serious when it comes to this spike protein. Is that all correct?
Well, a couple things, yeah. So you can always err on the side of taking the Spike Detox. That's always safe. Now, I recommend, Gene, that you do a nasal spray twice a day and a gargle or a throat spray twice a day. And there's many products that work fine. Wellness Company, we have Immune Defense. It's got a great name, Immune Defense. That's going to help with this a lot of viral shedding or being around other people, particularly on the plane. So get Immune Defense, nasal spray, and throat spray, and just do it twice a day. Don't wait until you get sick. Do it twice a day preventively. But you're right, you do the Flashpoint Army, these big programs. I gave a couple hundred public programs over the last 4 years. Thousands of people, Gene. I was on stage shaking hands with people.
Sure.
And when I checked my antibody test, I didn't take the shots either. I was shocked how high it was.
Really? So yours was over 1,000?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And I was starting to get ear ringing that was so loud I couldn't hear my stethoscope. And I'm a cardiologist. I've got to be able to listen to what I'm doing. And I just didn't feel that great. And, I went on the Spike Detox, and it took about 9 months. and I got my spike level down to about 900. My ear ringing is nearly gone. I'm back running. I feel great. And, I'm going to stick with it. Now, the Spike Detox, Gene, this has to be taken on an empty stomach. Very important. Empty stomach. So for me, like a lot of people, I get up at least once at night to go to the bathroom in the middle of sleep. That's when I take it. I'll take 2 capsules.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, most people don't know, I used to own a nutritional supplement company. So I learned a lot about supplements, and they are not all created equal. And that's one thing that is it was so enlightening to me. Typically people will listen to what you say, Doc, and they'll go to Walmart and buy the cheapest, if they could find nattokinase, they'll get the cheapest quantity. And there really is a difference in the quality of ingredients. And you can be taking fillers because am I right in saying it's unregulated? There's no real regulations. The FDA is only concerned that you're putting, what you're putting in there is really what you're putting in there. So if you say you're putting in a certain amount, you really are putting a certain amount in. But it doesn't speak to the quality of that. Is this correct? And is that what we should be looking for?
You're right, and it's almost always related to cost. So the cheapest stuff you can buy at the store is usually the cheapest quality. It just always is the case. With nattokinase, there's many different brands, but the problem is most of it's derived from soy. So if anybody has a soy allergy or any hormonal problems, then it's difficult. So at Wellness Company, we actually have high quality sources of all our products. We make the nattokinase from chickpeas, so we don't have any allergic problems. And, we treat it like medicine. Right. And at the Wellness Company, we put about 6 to 8 ingredients in each capsule, not just one. And so we give people the most value for the dollar, and we stand behind it because, these are the products we're using in our office.
That's great. In fact, I want to tell you, the Wellness Company is a great company and good quality stuff. And no, you're not going to get the same thing at Walmart. I'll just tell you.
Yeah. No.
And so just don't even. You're literally throwing your money away if you go and try and get the cheap stuff. All right. So let's move on. I want to. You were going to tell me. All right. So we finished that. Tell me what is your concern? What keeps you up at night in the future that we should know about?
Well, we mentioned this biopharmaceutical complex. Who are these players that seem to want to rule the world right now? Well, they include the World Economic Forum, the Gates Foundation, the WHO, the Wellcome Trust, Rockefeller Foundation, all the regulatory agencies. Well, one of these groups out there that's got a ton of money is called CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, CEPI. It's formed by Gates Foundation and the World Economic Forum. Well, they put out a white paper last year called Disease X. And they say there's going to be another worldwide pandemic like COVID. And it's going to come out of a biolab. It's going to be another man-made virus like COVID. And, they say there's going to be only one answer, and that is everybody takes a vaccine. Oh. That's what keeps me awake at night. Is another virus going to come out of one of these labs? The Biden administration was terrible on regulating this, and this just proliferated. We've got one of these terrible labs that has all of these dangerous bugs in it, Gene, in Galveston. It's not too far from us right now. It's in Galveston. Trump shut off funding to these labs, the federal funding, but they're still funded by the Gates Foundation, Chinese, and other sources. I think we need to shut down these labs altogether. They're too dangerous.
I think we would agree with you on that for sure. I understand what you're saying, because here's the thing. If there really is something horrific that's out there, I think the American people like me, are going to go, I'm not going to take a vaccine. I don't trust you guys. There was the COVID. We went through that, and your mRNA, and and it may be something that we really should take, but we won't because of what we've been through. And therefore, you're going to have a lot of sick people that are going to be hesitant to take any kind of vaccine. Do you see that happening, Doc?
Yeah, I think for sure on vaccines, people are going to go to the wellness company, Gene. We're nationwide. We've got early treatment kits. We've got a kit that handles radiation exposure, another type of pandemic. It's called contagion kits. Most of what we're talking about is another respiratory virus. So everybody should have immune defense, nasal spray and throat spray. Use it twice a day. That's going to cover a lot of different problems. And then get a wellness company emergency kit. Get the medications pre-prescribed. Follow the guidebook. If there's a next pandemic, wellness company, we'd be out there way ahead of the government telling people what to do.
There you go. So that's why you need to keep that twc.health. Use /flash so you can get some discounts on it. All right, let me show you. This is number 5, guys, in the control room. The new study that found Pfizer mRNA in over 88% of human placentas, sperm, blood, and in 50% of unvaccinated pregnant women was just mysteriously deleted from the journal. We're deeply investigating the serious matter and we'll report back as soon as we have an answer. This is even more reason why we don't trust Dr. McCullough.
That's Nick Hulsher. He was at the McCullough Foundation office with me in Dallas when we broke the story on this. Why would this be written as a scientific manuscript and then get out there? It already went through peer review, copywriting, publication, and now it's disappeared. And it's even a greater mystery, Gene. How did the unvaccinated women get the vaccine genetic code in them? Maybe their husbands were vaccinated, or maybe they had shedding. But this needs to be investigated. This is really serious business.
It is very serious, very, very serious. What is your take about when we eat, Doc? Is there certain things that you recommend people stay away from? And don't say steak, because that'll really be devastating. But so what should we stay away from? What can we do? I mean, there's the wellness company. Yes, great, we'll do that. But I mean, on our everyday life, what should we do to stay healthy? Is there things that we should stay away from, or things we should eat? What's the best way to go?
Well, everybody, probably in their minds has some brief dietary advice. I have it as a doctor, so I take an eclectic approach, so kind of the best of all the different diet formats. So what I suggest that we need is high-quality sources of protein in this order: fish, beans, nuts, egg whites, non-fat dairy, lean chicken, and beef. And I don't need any pork anymore since they started doing the genetic vaccines in pork several years ago.
No,
and then fresh foods.
What do you mean they were doing genetic vaccines in pork?
Started in 2017, Gene.
You mean I can't eat bacon anymore?
Well, bacon, here's the thing. Hopefully meat is cooked at a high enough temperature to denature the DNA and denature any of it, but we don't know, especially when you have a ham sandwich or something like that. So unless you know your source of pork, I tend to stay away from it. Now, I don't sweat having some bacon now and again, but we quit ordering ham for Christmas, things like that. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So high quality sources of protein: fish, beans, nuts, egg whites, non-fat dairy, occasional chicken and beef. Then fresh fruits and vegetables, unlimited. That's fine. So that means, what do you want to get rid of the diet? I mean, how do you and your wife look so good, Gene? I tell you, I saw you guys at the gala event. I was amazed. What you want to eliminate are sugars, sweets and treats, sugary drinks and desserts and things. Starches, this is the big one. Get rid of all that bread and cookies and crackers and chips and donuts and bagels. You know what I'm talking about. Get rid of rice and potatoes. Don't eat any starch. And then the last is saturated fat. That means heavy, gooey, greasy things like burgers and fries, cheesecake. If you can get rid of those things and you're eating, let's say fish and vegetables and fruits and things like that, you're going to be in great shape.
You just killed my whole diet.
No, come on. I know you eat really healthy at the Bailey House, and
All right,
and
I'm going to
you
have
and
to
your
go.
wife look so
I'm going to
good.
go have to go apologize and repent. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk to more Dr. McCullough about things that you need to be aware of. So don't change that channel. We'll be right back.
Step into the land where the Word became flesh. In April 2026, join Gene and Terry Bailey along with Flashpoint guests you know and love for a powerful prophetic journey through Israel.
We're coming to Israel, and I promise you, you may have been on a tour, but you've never been on a tour with Flashpoint.
Worship where heaven touched earth. This isn't just a tour. It's an encounter with God in the land of miracles. Space is limited, so reserve your spot today.
Kick off your 2026 with Flashpoint in Houston, Texas, January 8th and 9th. Join Gene Bailey, the Flashpoint team, and a selection of influential speakers at the Church of Champions for 2 powerful days of bold voices and unshakable truth as we bring insight for this time we are in America. Register for this free event at fparmy.com/events.
Flashpoint isn't just a show, it's a movement. And now you can take the movement with you.
FlashpointStore.com has new merchandise.
From t-shirts to hats, mugs to more, we've got what you need to stand for truth in style. Everywhere you go, make a statement of faith, freedom, and boldness.
Make sure you wear Flashpoint. Always show your colors.
Order today at FlashpointStore.com. Don't just watch Flashpoint, wear it. Be part of the Army. Flashpoint is growing, and it's easier than ever to tune in.
All your social media, spread the word far and wide.
You've got options. Catch the show on your favorite faith-based networks. Stream every episode on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Roku. For a full list of where to watch, go to fparmy.com/media. And be sure to follow us on Rumble and YouTube for the latest episodes. Truth is broadcasting further than ever. This is Flashpoint.
Welcome back to the second half, what's left of it anyway. So thank you for watching. Listen, I want to encourage you to watch other programming on the network, Flashpoint Network. We're going to take stuff that we've done with Dr. McCullough and re-air some of those things and re-air this program over there. So there are things on the network side that if you only watch Flashpoint, you may be missing. So you can go to fparmy.com/media. All the ways to watch are there, but look over there to the right side. YouTube, Roku, I would tell you to go download the Flashpoint Television Network app on Roku. Go download that channel because that's where you can get a lot of more information, a more varied programming. Of course, the show is there, but you'll also get to see more programming like this. And we want to do more at the Flashpoint Network to actually show you more things that you need to understand about your health. People like, I know how much you guys love Dr. McCullough because you stop him in the airports, you talk to him all the time, and keep doing that so he knows you're watching. But we need to understand, we must take responsibility for our health. And at Flashpoint and at the network, we believe that too. So that's why we're so much a believer of the wellness company and Dr. McCullough. All right, so Doc, before the break, you pretty much bashed my lunchtime routine of my burger that I like to go get and bacon cheeseburger. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it.
No, you're kidding me.
Yeah,
That should be pretty rare, Gene.
Okay, all right. I hear you. Well, my wife Terry's over here nodding and pointing at me, so I got it. Okay, let me show you this. Let's go to number 6, guys. Recent study from Israel about Pfizer vaccine mRNA detected in vaccine blood placentas, what we just talked about, just deleted. Something serious might have occurred, possibly involving significant influence or infiltration in the journal after it gained visibility. Only authors can clarify, so hopefully someone can reach out to them, and anyone who wants can download it here. That was back in early part of December. It's still, I think if we're not careful, we have a tendency to think, okay, we came through what happened with COVID, Doc, and they kind of got caught. Everybody knows, to stay away from this vaccine, and they're slowly taking it off and talking bad about it and all that. But it's still, there's this undercurrent that's not wanting to be fully transparent. What you talked to us about years ago about the VAERS database and how we were able to go look up some of those things before they suddenly went away or greatly curtailed, or they just didn't post them anymore. This is really a concern for most Americans. We don't know, is there a source outside of shows like this where we can get real data and information? Just the normal public here, our lay people, not necessarily doctors.
Well, a couple sources. One, directly from the McCullough Foundation, sign up for Focal Points. If you go to thefocalpoints.com or go into Substack and find Focal Points, sign up. It's free, and you'll get an update between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. every morning, and then additional key updates. And then I think the wellness company, sign up as a member and get that email. Every day you get some useful email, and it covers so many things. Males and female hormones, diet, cancer, other things to keep us on guard. But I think the overarching message here is, Gene, we've been told by Fauci and everybody else there's going to be another pandemic. We better get in shape. We better drop our weight, get fit and strong, use a nasal spray and gargle twice a day, have a healthy diet. I think it's reasonable to take some supplements. We talked about Spike Detox. I think everybody should be on vitamin D with vitamin K2, 10,000 units a day of vitamin D, plus 200 micrograms of K2. Everybody should be on a good multivitamin. Everybody should be on their A game, because in the next few years, if we get another one of these pandemics, remember last time, Gene, the people who died with COVID were people who are pretty unhealthy at baseline.
Well, you're exactly right. Exactly right. That's great. So sign up for the Focal Points and go to the wellness company and sign up there. Right. I think that's great input, great advice. All right, let me show you. This is number 10, guys. This is President Trump post today. This was back in December 5th. He said the CDC Vaccine Committee made a very good decision to end their hepatitis B vaccine recommendation for babies, the vast majority who are at no risk of hepatitis B. That is mostly transmitted sexually or through dirty needles. The American childhood vaccine schedule long required 72 jabs for perfectly healthy babies, far more than any other country. And he goes on to talk about it. Now, the thing, as I understand it here, Doc, and correct me if I'm wrong, while it's ended for babies, their whole thing is to come back around and perhaps give it at a later date. But 72, that's massive amount of vaccines.
It became way too much. And recently on Focal Points, we did an analysis of what did the other countries do. Some countries, it's half or less of the number of shots. I think it became excessive in the United States. There's about 25,000 babies per year who do need the hepatitis B vaccine, but the mothers are tested. The mothers have Hep B. The mothers get an antiviral drug in the third trimester called tenofovir, and then the babies get hepatitis B immunoglobulin and the vaccine. Now, for the other 3.2 million children born who are perfectly healthy, the mother's blood tests are fine, they don't need this hepatitis B vaccine whatsoever. And what a lot of us are thinking is, don't consider it until, into the teenage years. And I think the people who really need it, I took the hepatitis B shot, Gene. The people who need it are first responders, doctors, and nurses, because we deal with blood, and we never know if there's going to be a drug abuser or somebody with HIV or something. And we have to take care of them. So I think those are the people who really need the shots.
Here's President Trump reviewing childhood vaccine schedule. The White House put this out. Watch.
As far as the vaccine schedule for children, would you support ending the federal mandates and making it optional for schools?
Well, we're looking at a lot of things having to do with vaccines and with the different. I think we take like 88 different shots, all wrapped up in one big glass of stuff like that, and we're going to be reducing it very substantially.
Do you support the paramount?
It'll be safe, but we're going to be reducing it very substantially.
All right, let me show you this next clip, the Pediatric Poisoning Program by Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. Watch.
At that point in time, in 2000, was about 1 in 150 children, which was a travesty at that point. And now it's 1 in 30. And you just see this chart, and it shows every time that a new vaccine was introduced along this chart, how things kept going up. And yet people say, we don't know what's causing autism. We have to look for genetics. We have to look for environmental things. We have to look at, and nobody is willing, except me and a handful of other people, to talk about the elephant that's in the room. When you are injecting foreign matter into children at a very tender age, when they're still going through rapid cardiovascular, neurological, lung, everything development, their bones are growing, everything is happening rapidly. It's like throwing hands full of salt into your gas tank and expecting things to work well. And so that's why probably about a year ago now, it was sometime this year, so 6-7 months ago, I decided I was going to stop talking about the pediatric vaccination program and call it what it is.
Which is what?
It's the Pediatric Poisoning Program.
Yeah.
That they poison kids systematically, that at 2, 4, 6 months and 1 year, they'll get 28 injections by the time they're 1 year of age.
Okay, I feel sick now because I did this to my children.
And they'll have, by 2 years of age, when the kidneys become fully functional to get rid of the aluminum, that happens at 2 years of age, they'll have 4,700 micrograms of aluminum that will be injected into them that can't get out of their body. So it's stored in their brain and their bones and their liver and their kidney. And so we are poisoning children. It's the Pediatric Poisoning Program. And for adults, it's the Adult Assault Program. We now know that the flu shot doesn't work. The huge study that just came out from the Cleveland Clinic that said that there was over 2 million in this study, I believe. And they said that if you got a flu shot, you were more likely to get the flu.
Yeah,
there was another study that came out just a couple of weeks ago that if you got the pneumonia shot, you were more likely to get pneumonia and die.
See, that's what I'm talking about, Doc. I think people just they don't trust the medical community. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues the medical community has right now is because people don't trust anymore.
It's true, and that's Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. She hit a lot of important points, Gene. The McCullough Foundation did do the definitive scientific report on autism. It was published October 27th, 2025, and we sent it to Robert F. Kennedy and the CDC and HHS. Within 3 weeks of our report, the CDC changed its stance on vaccines on autism on their website.
That's amazing.
CDC now, and I'm sure it was our report was the impetus. CDC now says we haven't ruled this out at all. They're going to do their own report, which they should, but it looks like a big bundle of vaccines given right around 1 year of age in a susceptible child that can be the trigger for brain inflammation called encephalitis, can result in a seizure. The kids get pretty sick, and then they develop autism afterwards.
Wow. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of the show, so I want to ask you a couple other questions unrelated. There seems to be an epidemic almost of patients with dementia, Alzheimer's. We hear more about dementia now than ever before. What should people know? What should they look for? How should they respond to this threat?
Gene, is close to my heart. Both my parents have dementia. My mother's alive. My dad died of it. And you're right, it's going straight up in the United States, straight up. And I can tell you part of it's related to alcohol. It's one of the reasons why I don't drink a drop of alcohol, Gene. And I think some of it is due to unhealthy lifestyle. So published studies show that daily exercise helps dramatically prevent dementia. So my wife's mother, who you met, lives with us. She's 92. My wife takes her out exercising every day. She's mentally, she's great shape.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah. So really, what you're saying, just getting people out and go for a walk is going to make a difference.
Huge difference.
So there you go. Great input there. Something we all need to take responsibility. Is there any connection with that you know of, but with aluminum and this dementia or Alzheimer's?
There is, Gene. There was a large study in France over 9 years, and it turns out the aluminum in the water was related to dementia. So even though people have been worried about fluoride, I'm actually more concerned about aluminum. Some people drink out of aluminum coffee cups and things like that. I tend to steer clear of that.
Well, very good. Very good. Interesting topic. Okay, so let's talk about what we need to do for our children. We've talked a lot about babies and kids and vaccines and older people. What should we be looking for? A lot of my audience is older, and they may be looking at their grandchildren going, what should I do? They're 10, 12 years old, or maybe younger, a little older. What should they do? Should they be looking at doing this Spike Detox for their kids?
Well, Wellness Company has Spike gummies for kids. You can take it down to age 4. That's fine. But you know what I'm thinking they should do? You know what's important, Gene, is what's called gender affirmation. When you have little kids that are 3, 4, and 5, and 6, a little girl should be, told by her mother and parents, she's going to grow up to be like mommy. She's going to be a woman. And a little boy's going to become a man. We actually need to get that in their brains early, because when they go to school, they get all mixed up with all this pornography in the schools and the counselors. Right. And I'm afraid this transgender madness, which is what it is harming young people greatly. We've banned it in Texas, Gene, but there's still pockets where this is encouraged.
Yeah, without a doubt. And there are other states flying people there to have their surgery. Yeah. So, I mean, it's very, very real. And I think that's interesting that you said that. Affirming their gender is huge, because little boys climb and fall, and their kids, and encourage that. And little girls. So I think it's wonderful advice as we do that. Even the littlest things a grandparent can do make a huge difference.
Make a huge difference, and it's just that verbal cueing and reaffirmation. Don't allow any ambiguity here at all. Yeah. Don't allow any ambiguity, because when the kids, feel uncomfortable around the time of puberty, or they have trouble dating, the first thing that counselors will tell them is maybe they should change their sex. I can tell you it's terrible advice, Gene. I think medically it's a disaster. The kids need to go through normal puberty, and they'll blossom into wonderful young men and women.
Well, let's talk, and I got a few minutes left, but I want to talk about those that have gone through gender change surgery, all that, and they're taking the hormones and the blockers and everything. What's the long term? Is there any studies that have been shown? I mean, people talk about this, but I don't know if anybody quotes a study on long-term effect of these drugs when those that wanted to change their gender.
Gene, it's not good. I prepared an expert report for our state attorney general's office, Ken Paxton. I can tell you transgender medicine is sterilizing. They almost will never have children. It disfigures the body, where it's going to get worse and worse with these horrible surgeries. It increases the burden of psychiatric care, so it actually makes them worse in terms of not feeling good about themselves. And it increases all-cause mortality, Gene. All-cause, homicide, suicide, and other causes. And it's something like about 40% of these mass school shootings are by crazed transgender young people. It's happened time and time again.
So you've actually did a report on this, with some data. I would love to see that. If there's a way, as much as I can understand, I would love to read that.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why I can't share it, but it is not good news. Trump was right by banning this across the country. The Supreme Court was right. They upheld the Tennessee ban. But Ken Paxton still is suing doctors in Texas who are violating this ban on transgender surgery and medicine for the youth.
No. inside the medical community that you've kind of float around, quite a wide range of those in that community. Are you seeing doctors coming to grips with this, or because there seems, in the media, all we see is those that are affirming gender care and doing all of this stuff. Are you seeing a change with the medical community to stand up for what's right and really kind of quote some of these studies and reports you've done, or is it still a great divide?
It's a great divide. There's a small number of doctors who I think have ethical and Christian moral grounding, and there's others who it's completely heinous. This transgender came out of nowhere. It's still supported in the medical journals and the big medical centers. Harvard has a division of transgender medicine. Gene, something has gone wrong in the medical field in the last 5 years. We never had this 10 or 20 years ago. It's brand new.
It's staggering. All right, so I want to show you something here. When you go to twc.health, look at my computer here. You can go here and you can find out more information. Some of you guys will never do this unless I show you. There's the supplements, the medical kits, which I think the medical kits is a great idea. What is the wellness farms? Tell me about that, Doc.
Well, Wellness Farms is people like you, Gene. I know you and Terry are big beef eaters. Wellness Farms, has its own supply of meat. There's no hormones, no injections, no parasites. It's very, very high quality meat. You can order the cuts. Dr. Ben Tapper is leading that group. We have lead chef Andrew Gruel with us at Wellness Farms. So, a lot of people say, listen, they want to make sure that what they eat is clean and high quality as possible. So go to Wellness Farms. Okay, and now I see this last little over here to the right, this virtual care. Tell me about that. Sounds interesting. Well, Wellness Company has a whole doctor's group that you can get on the phone anytime you want to. It's very affordable. I think a doctor's visit's less than $60. And then if you get a Wellness Company membership, which is what I have, it's about $99 a month. Then you get as many doctor calls as you want to. So some people with diabetes and other problems, they sign up for the membership. They get free medications, free telemedicine visits, and free supplements. So the membership is a great value. Wow. Go to TWC/Flashpoint and get the Flashpoint Army discount. There you go. All right. Well, thank you for explaining that. I didn't know that TWC had all that. That's amazing. Yeah. And listen, it really does matter where you get your food. And I really appreciate the Wellness Farms and what you're doing there, because we look for beef that is grass-fed, grain-finished, or grass-fed, grass-finished. Right. There are all these things that you need to understand. You're going to have to educate yourself. And this is where your own research is going to come in. So I want to recommend you go there to twc.health, the wellness company, and get as much information as you can. All right, so in the last 4 minutes here, Doc, I want to get you to wrap up. What else does the Flashpoint audience need to know? What do they need to be thinking about? Recently the FDA has dropped any warnings about hormones in men and women as they get older. So there's a more liberal view on hormones. And, it's fine for men and women to consider hormones after menopause. But at the Wellness Company, we have some natural approaches to kind of rebalance and boost hormones without taking shots or pellets. And for men, the product is called Mars, M-A-R-S. And then for the woman, it's called Venus. I recommend them all the time. I had a man today who didn't feel his vitality was as strong as it should be. And you know what? He's going to go on Mars. It may take 6 months or so, but it helps the testicles naturally produce testosterone, kind of beef them up. When you take testosterone shots, Gene, that actually shrinks the testicles. So I'm not so crazy about men taking testosterone shots. So I think the natural approach is men and women, good way to go. That is good. All right. Well, you just never know what you're going to hear from Dr. McCullough. Doc, thank you for helping us understand and break it down. You're always a fan favorite on Flashpoint. People love hearing from you,
And we're going to see what we can do this year to get you into some of our events. The book you need to get, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality, something you need to get. I think all of us probably need to read that. And I also recommend RFK Jr.'s book on the real Anthony Fauci. That was a real eye-opener for me during COVID and reading that book and the amount of research that went into that. So all of those are great things. You have to take control of your health. I think our generation, my generation we've just kind of depended on, and I know my parents, I mean, I grew up, things had to be like hanging off before you went to the doctor. You just rub some dirt on it and you know, shake it off, you'll be all right. Well, we don't live in that world anymore, and we need to understand there are times to go to the doctor and times to get the right information. So you and I need to do that. We need to get the information. If we're going to be here a long time, listen, I know you guys, I need you. We have a lot of work to do here in our culture, in politics, in what we're doing in our nation, and I need you to be a part. So take your health seriously when it comes to how we're going to be here, all right? So I want to thank Dr. McCullough for being here. Of course, I thank you for joining us. Doc, the Flashpoint Army, they love you.
Go Flashpoint Army. Love you guys too.
Yeah, all right.